Yes, well, we've published a plan from the 1st of July this year, and this is the culmination of some work. The force has been reviewed over the last couple of years, most notably by Peter Terry, who was a senior officer from the United Kingdom, who came over and did a review 2 years ago. And the plan is the response to that. The review looked at Commander of British Forces said he wanted to understand whether he still needed the GDP, and if he did need it, what it should do for defence in Gibraltar. The review concluded that he did need the GDP, and he needed it for certain functions within Gibraltar. The plan is the response to that, and the action plan going forward for the next 3 years of how we're going to achieve and adapt to meet the defence needs in Gibraltar.
So would you say that the GDP now has a clearer idea of its role?
Yes, indeed. I think there's been much speculation and there's been uncertainty in the past as to whether the GDP would somehow become part of a Government of Gibraltar-owned organisation, or whether we would join up with the RGP. What this review said was effectively that's not going to happen. We will. The Ministry of Defence still requires and wishes to retain a civilian police force in Gibraltar, and that certainty is going to be delivered through the policing plan.
So then, how do you see yourself, as a Gibraltar force, as an MOD force?
I've always been a Gibraltar police force. The fact is, though, that we are funded by the United Kingdom and we're funded by the Ministry of Defence, but we operate in Gibraltar under Gibraltar law, and the officers, with me as their chief, we're all constables under Gibraltar law, and we're answerable to that law. That's our public office.
As you say, we've been hearing about the amalgamation with the RGP for years now. Is it off the cards?
It is for the time being, I think, at least. Nobody can say what's going to happen in years to come, as nobody probably could have predicted the things that have happened through the years. But for the foreseeable future, it's not necessary. And in much the same way as these things come around all the time. If you look in the United Kingdom, there's lots of examples of they looked at the idea of a national police force in the United Kingdom and discarded it for England and Wales, but Scotland went ahead and amalgamated several police forces to make Police Scotland. So these things are changing all the time, but for us here in Gibraltar, we do some fairly specialised bits of police work. We work absolutely hand in glove with the RGP, and we enjoy a great relationship with them. But the feeling was that there was no need to join to do that. We can join operationally when we need to, and that's what we do.
The GDP has had a rocky few years with reviews, with investigations. Do you feel like you've drawn a line now going forward?
I think so. I think, if you look back, I look at the root causes of these things. There's going to be things that we do. We have to change. Some things we have to change. And that change creates uncertainty in itself. And some of that change won't be welcome. An example is fitness. We introduced fitness a number of years ago. We introduced an annual fitness test. We're following a UK standard for that. So we've got a basic level of fitness required for police officers, and then we have a higher level of fitness required for firearms officers. And that's as it should be. The public would expect us to be fit to do our duty. Now, that's not going to be welcome for every individual. For an individual who's mid-service, who perhaps has maybe neglected their health a little bit, it takes some doing to actually get themselves to the level of fitness. But we've tried to be reasonable, and we've tried to work on allowing time for people to do to make the standard. And we work very closely, and we are now working very closely with the Federation here to ensure that people are given the time and are given the encouragement to meet those standards. But as I say, not universally popular. Equally, the uncertainty caused by will we, won't we amalgamate. That uncertainty creates a situation where people can exploit that if they're so minded, and we don't want that. We want certainty in the mix, and we want a situation where people know exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it, they should feel proud of the badge that they're wearing, which is all about serving principally the needs of the MOD, but doing so in Gibraltar.
How beneficial do you think the MOA that you signed with the Federation will be? Because I imagine that for the GDP it would be good to have the Federation on board. You haven't always been in lockstep.
No, and as I say, without dwelling on the past, it's all about, the future is all about, we've had now a Federation Committee which have been elected through a fair and open election process. That's given the committee a really strong mandate because they are representative, very much representative of the members, their members, which is basically all the police officers up to Chief Inspector within the force. The MOA is really just reiterating and modernising what we had before, but it's reiterating the fact that we're operating to a standard. They're operating to a standard. Those standards are shared. The code of ethics exists within UK policing and so on. So all we're doing is re-emphasising those things, but we've got a committee that we've already realised that within the last couple of months we've sat down and we're able to sit down and talk with a shared common goal, and that is the longevity of this force, the jobs of the individuals within the force, the outputs that we deliver, principally for defence, but obviously that benefits Gibraltar in so many ways. There's lots of families that are depending on the employment within this force. The outputs that we deliver have, whilst they're principally for defence, are benefiting Gibraltar as well. And so there's a win-win-win all the way around here. And the ability to sit down with a team of people who are dedicated to working together is really good. And we're really, really happy to have signed the new MOU.